What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up and Chat. My name is BJ Mathews, aka B. Just before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, as well as Spotify, Iheartradio, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, Twitter, TikTok, you know what I'm saying? Pull Up Basketball Podcast, you know what I'm saying? Follow my co-host Rick Master at RickMaster23. Like, share, subscribe all of our YouTube videos as well to get all the updated content. Let's get it popping. I told y'all it was gonna get ugly, right? I told y'all this is not gonna go well. What am I talking about? Well, this past weekend I made a video pertaining to the all-star point guard of LA Lakers, Russell Westbrook, wife, Nina Westbrook, and Skip Bayless, the well-known sports analyst and TV personality on Undisputed, right? They had a Twitter, somewhat of a feud. We're really more so on Nina Westbrook than Skip Bayless. Everybody who's been watching the NBA understands that Russell Westbrook has not had his best year. He has been kind of, trying to figure his way how to, be a part of this Laker team. And he has been the person who's been blamed for most of the Lakers' struggles. Even though I said throughout the entire year, there's a lot of problems with this team from their age, from their defense, their coaching, LeBron being older, Anthony Davis being injury prone. There's been so many other issues rather than Westbrook being the main focus. But that's what they've said. Nina Westbrook had enough with the shaming of her husband's name and basically said that, look, you can criticize him, but when you start talking about my last name, his last name, then you're going too far. So basically on Twitter, Skip Bayless has been one of the people that's been calling Russell Westbrook Russ Brick. And Nina Westbrook took it to Twitter and said to him, look, you can criticize my husband, but I don't appreciate you criticizing his last name. You're disrespectful. I think you need to apologize. So that was the kind of sentiments of that quote, right? Let's get a little deeper into it. And I basically said on the video this past week, y'all can go check it out. I had no problem with what Nina Westbrook said because my whole thing is as your husband, you want your wife to defend you. I don't know any person who would not want their woman to defend them. And then Russell Westbrook had his comments yesterday after the post game talking about the whole situation. One of the sentiments that he highlighted that he stands by his wife and he's happy that his wife defended him. So I don't understand the people who talking about Russell needs to put a muzzle on his wife and try to quiet her down, tell her to be quiet. I don't think y'all have girlfriends or have wives that really care about you because if they did, you would want them to defend you. And it's not like this lady's all up in the news. You rarely know who she is until this whole situation. So she doesn't really need to be controlled because to me, she sounds like she just wants to be a wife and a mother to her kids for the most part. So what does there need to be controlled? But I'll digress from that. She defended him and Russell Westbrook co-signed. Now, within the last 24 hours, there's been some new evidence, some new quotes that's come out from Nina Westbrook talking about how Laker fans have been threatening her um, based off of Russell Westbrook's game on the court, right? And with tweets and stuff like that. And I say this basically when it comes to the family, when you threaten the family, that's off limits. When you threaten a person's wife and kids and says, death threats and stuff like that at the actual game, then that's when things get a little bit too out of hand. And I knew this was going to be part of the reason, part of the cause for, fans acting like this. Let me just say this about fans. For those who don't know, I played basketball, high school, college, overseas, semi-professional, all that stuff. So I've been, privy to a lot of this stuff. There's fans who are great for the team, organization that are diehard, been fans for the team for years, and then those fans who take it overboard and make it all not about basketball, and they're actually a cancer to the organization. I'm not going to blame the Laker organization for a couple idiot fans who say disrespectful things and is out of line and out of pocket. But I will say this: there's certain fans that need to be checked, and I'm not against certain fans being, if you're gonna talk all that in the fan in the stands, you better be ready to face the repercussions because when you start talking about a person's family and threatening them, you gotta be ready for any type of response. And I don't want to hear this about, oh, well, you can't be sensitive and you can't really be um, worried about what fans say. Look, man, all these guys are human at the end of the day, and everybody has a breaking point. I don't care how much money you make. Everyone has a breaking point. And from what Russell Westbrook has been going through, And he said it alluded to this in his press conference. He said like it's been weighing on him and his family. And I said that in my last video. This is weighing on him and his family. I don't have no problem with you criticizing Westbrook. I don't really have a problem with, him missing shots or turning the ball over as a basketball player. But now it's gotten to a point where it's not even basketball, it's personal, right? It's all personal. Talk a lot of it. So um basically, again, Westbrook talked about it in his post game last night. There's a Spurs fan that called him Westbrook, and Westbrook finally said to him, you know what I'm saying, don't disrespect my name. So obviously he's been hearing everything that's been going on. His wife been, in deep communication and stuff like that about all this. So he's at a breaking point right now. And the reason why I think he said that is because there he spoke about a situation with his son last week. They're at a parent teacher school press conference, and his son, the teacher told his son, like, he writes the word Westbrook everywhere he goes in the classroom, in his paper, and stuff like that. So he's very proud to be called a Westbrook. And that's when, Russell said to himself, man, like, this is really bigger than basketball. Like, now I understand the meaning of having to respect my name. And there's gonna be people watching this video gonna be like, don't worry about it, man. It's basketball. You got to be able to let the territory come with it. Da da da. Yeah, it is basketball at the end of the day, right? But Skip Bayless, and I'm gonna say this again, media personalities control the narrative. So when you say certain things, that fuels a lot of these fans to go run around and come behind it. Skip Bayless has to understand. That's why I point out. You can be honest and still not be truthful. When you say stuff that goes past just being analytical and telling the truth and start calling people out their name, you fuel a lot of these fans to say the same thing because you guys control the narrative. Even if it's not even true, because let me tell you something. As bad as Westbrook is playing, he's averaging less turnovers since 2013 at OKC, in Houston, and Washington. Why wasn't he getting heckled like this? I wouldn't even say heckle because he's kind of been with fans, throughout his whole career because that's kind of who he is. But the point that it is now is at a higher level ever than ever because now it's becoming to a point where his family's being threatened at this point. So now, again, guys like Skip Bayless doesn't understand that his opinion could be detrimental. I don't think that certain fans would be this upset as if guys like Skip Bayless wouldn't be saying, Westbrook and all this other, it's unnecessary. And I already told y'all, Skip Bayless don't really know basketball. He says what he says to get some type of reaction from the audience. You got to remember how these sports shows work. They need to get ratings. And the way to get ratings, you have to, have a narrative. Just like the Kobe and Shaq incident, people for years talked about how selfish and arrogant Kobe Bryant was, but then they started realizing this guy's not as arrogant as being promoted. And you start hearing these stories about Shaquille O'Neal, how he treated his teammates and how, what I'm saying, he was somewhat of a bully and how he tried to control the narrative and stuff like that, and how he gets into it with players now who are in the league currently. And you start realizing, what, Shaq's a little bit childish. And I can see why Kobe will react the way he did, because again, the media controls what the masses usually think if you don't do your own research or you've never been in those circles with other NBA players, man. So my whole point coming to conclusion is it's not going to get better. Russell Westbrook is going to be gone from the LA Lakers. Um, I'm all for criticizing a person's game, but don't sit up here and tell me that when you start getting checked after you've been saying all this stuff for months and years and somebody finally says to you, yo, I've had enough, you calling that person sensitive even though you continuously run your mouth. Don't tell me you're doing your job because that's not doing your job. That's not analytical. That's you trying to have a narrative. Doing the blooper reels and all that stuff, yeah, it was funny. I admit I laughed a little bit about it, but that's that's part of the reason why you got people who go after you because now you're making it about jokes and stuff like that. And then Westbrook again hasn't as been as bad as people want to make him out to be, but you're just seeing all the negative. He's still averaging almost still 20 points and still almost averaging a triple double, 18, 8, and 8. And he's averaging less turnovers. Go look it up than he has since 2013 at 3.9. So this is who he's always been, but he's under a smaller microscope now, so that's why it makes it seem worse than it is. But those are my sentiments, you know what I'm saying? You just got to watch what you watch on television, because these fans are going to take it and run with it at the end of the day. So that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull up. Peace. I like swim well.